Well, front to us a son was born and a child was given.
I want to ask you a question. Have you got your book? Haile Selassie I, Ethiopia, Volume 1, The Rise of the Priest Warrior King. I've read the book in its entirety, and I must say it's very inspirational, very informative, and very historical, right?
Them call him Rastafari. When he was born, rain fall from sky. Them call him Rastafari. When he was grown in airplanes he fly. They call him Rastafari. The lion break the chain, weep not, don't cry. Them call him Rastafari. Read your Revelation chapter 5 verse 5. Then born near the city of Harar, the inspiration for Bob Marley's guitar. People crowd him like some big superstar. It no matter if England.
I'm not going to clickbait you. So right up front, I'm going to tell you, do Rastafari celebrate Christmas? This is the million-dollar question. The answer to that question is yes. However, wait, don't jump to conclusions. I never say Rastafari celebrate Santa Claus. I never say Rastafari put up Christmas tree. I never say Rastafari go out a road, go buy present, go wrap up presents, go put on the tree. I didn't say any of that.
Well, lion voice, tell them that's the people first choice. Lion voice, make the lioness them feel nice. Lion voice, with the lion cubs we sacrifice. Lion voice, got to show the people them the life. Lion voice.
Greetings in that divine name of His Imperial Majesty, Emperor Haile Selassie I. Glory and honor in the name of his chosen queen, Empress Waziri Menen. My name is Kwasi Bansu, aka Dejazmatch Kwasi, aka Ras Kwasi, aka the Reading Ras, aka the Panafrican Happy Man. I'm an entertainment attorney, I'm an author, I'm an artist, I'm an actionist, and right now I'm the host of the Lion's Voice. Welcome, family, to this great day and episode 51 of the Lion Voice. Yes, we reached that milestone of 50 episodes, and I just want to thank all of the subscribers, all of the people who comment, all of the people who are sending DMs, sending pictures, sharing their experience with I and I as we build this channel. As I say, we are now averaging around 100 people per episode, which, you know, is a good baseline for us to build from. So if you're part of that 100, again, thank you. And we're going to expand it. Some episodes have a lot more, some not so much, if you look through the catalog. However, again, as a content creator, you have to keep on building the content. Consistency beats perfection every time. And that's one of my mantras that I'm living by right now. Anyhow, today, I will get forward into that. So again, like, share, subscribe. Let us build the Lion Pride. I'm an artist, but we'll talk about that on another episode. Anyhow, this episode, today in the Western world is Christmas Eve. It's a day where everybody's running out shopping, doing their last minute, you know, big Christmas dinner planned for tomorrow, worst Christmas on a Sunday. So, you know, there's so much happening around. So today's episode, I thought, with the theme of the season, let's talk about, do Rastafari celebrate Christmas? Now, this can be a controversial topic because some people equate Christmas with Santa Claus, Christmas tree, shopping. And funny enough, none of those things have anything to do with the foundation for this holiday that they call Christmas. So I wanted to just go through some points to answer the question. I'm not going to clickbait you. So right up front, I'm going to tell you, do Rastafari celebrate Christmas? This is the million-dollar question. The answer to that question is yes. However, wait, don't jump to conclusions. I never say Rastafari celebrate Santa Claus. I never say Rastafari put up Christmas tree. Me never say Rastafari go out a road, go buy present, go wrap up presents, go put on the tree. I didn't say any of that. Do Rastafari celebrate Christmas? The answer is yes. Let me give my own experience, how I came into the movement. I became Rastafari in Washington, D.C., trotting up to the Nyabingi house. And one of the island days that was celebrated was Ethiopian Christmas. Now, it's not on January 25th. Ethiopian Christmas is on January 7th. All of the Orthodox churches share that. But however, again, the intent is the same. It's a celebration of the birth of the Christ, of Yeshua ben Yosef the Christ, otherwise known as Jesus Christos in the Ethiopian church. In the West, they would call him Jesus Christ. You know, I don't like that word Jesus because it's a Roman name, and we know Yeshua was a Hebrew, so we're sensitive to that. However, in the Orthodox Church, they call him Jesus Christos, you know, after the Greek, and this is the influence of the, again, the Western influence on the church, but Ethiopia falls in that category. So when you hear His Majesty in the selected speeches or in this reasoning that we have today, you'll see His Majesty write Jesus, but we know speaking in Amharic, he was saying Jesus Christos. So let's just clarify that part before we go deep into the reasoning. First of all, what is Christmas? Let's start there, because we say Christmas, but what is the true meaning of Christmas? Again, the true meaning of Christmas is about celebration of the birth of Yeshua ben Yosef, which is a manifestation of that Christ consciousness, the first begotten Son of the Almighty. Whatever you know, the Bible writes about this remarkable being, and this is why I recommend everybody read the Bible. We want to make it clear that Rastafari don't celebrate the Western Christmas. So December 25th, a lot of people are not familiar that December 25th was ordained as Christmas by Emperor Constantine of Rome, and that was done December 25th, 336 AD. And then later Pope Julius I, you know, announced that this was the birth of Jesus. This is when the date would be celebrated. We know that, you know, historically it would not have been the time for them to celebrate, you know, Jesus or Yeshua's Earthstrong. When we ask the question, do Rastafari celebrate Christmas? I want the item to know about this channel. Anything that we talk about within Rastafari, we're going straight to the source, His Imperial Majesty. No disrespect to our elders who trod before I and I, who laid a foundation that we could stand on. However, our elders were not perfect, and we see the outcomes of some of their chad. We see what happened, and they endured great tribulation for I and I's sake, but not for I and I to come and repeat the same chad that they chatted, because that was a reaction to the persecution. Now that they have opened the doors, I and I have to step into I and I divine self, which is Rastafari, which is going to the source. We have the selected speeches now. We have the word sound straight from the mouth of Kadamawi Haile Selassie I. And I'm telling ones on this channel that that is where we get the authority. That's why I can speak with such confidence when I come on this platform, because we have to lead the youths them to His Majesty. Non-partial, period, point blank, no apologies. Not your opinion. Because a lot of people who say they're Rasta or Rastafari, when they talk about these topics, Christmas, Yeshua, they will block sound that's in complete contravention to His Majesty. Tell you that Yeshua is a fairy tale, is a Roman, Western thing. So then how come His Majesty is the defender of the Christian faith? And when you hear the sound defender, that means he's willing to defend it against all the naysayers. So what you're saying when you lick out against the church, Christianity, indiscriminately, because of course the lukewarm church gets lava. But when you lick out against the church, which is a natural ally to Rastafari from that time until this time, you lick out against religion and spirituality, you are going in contravention to His Majesty. You put yourself in opposition to the word sound, and that's not a position I would want to be in. And again, I tell the young Ras, when you're judging whether you should listen to a one, even if the one is an elder, you have to look at the resume. And you look at Kadamawi Haile Selassie resume, examine the Brethren resume or the Sistrian resume. If it doesn't match up, then we go with Kadamawi Haile Selassie I. That's settled, because we have to go with what works. We don't have time in this Armageddon to deal with opinion. That being said, what did him say about Christmas? For this information, I go to an interview he did with Oswald Hoffman, a Lutheran preacher who had a very famous radio program in the 30s and 40s that was called Lutheran Hour, and I think it went all the way up into the 60s. So famous preacher, broadcaster, and he had the privilege of interviewing with His Imperial Majesty. It's very readily available on the internet, and in that interview, His Majesty speaks very clearly what he felt about Christmas. It was a message, a Christmas message, and he was asked some very pointed questions. So he was asked some very pointed questions. So I'm gonna just go through some of that interview on this, so we can settle all the argument about what Rastafari, how we feel about Christmas, so we can clear up any confusion. Anyone refuting what I'm saying here, we always say bring the evidence, bring some facts, bring something that can clarify why your position is greater than these words that we are going to examine from Kadamawi Haile Selassie. If not, then let us just humble ourselves and rise, because His Majesty is leading us into something greater than we can even imagine. So, the first question Mr. Hoffman asked, he says, "Your Imperial Majesty, it is a great honor to be permitted to speak to you today and to also have you as a guest on this special Christmas program, which will be broadcast to people all over the world. Your Imperial Majesty, what is it that makes you want to follow Jesus Christ?" And I'm gonna just read it straight. His Imperial Majesty says, "When Jesus Christus was born from the Virgin Mary," and some people lick out against the virgin birth. His Majesty is talking about virgin birth, so I don't know how they're gonna work it out. Now, for I personally, I don't be presumptuous as to question the power of the Almighty and what the Almighty can accomplish. Yes, every other human being born through man and woman, even His Majesty as well, that doesn't preclude a miracle from taking place. And I find it reductive how people want to diminish the power of the Almighty in terms of what He manifests. And again, I'm just blocking what His Majesty is saying here. He says, "When Jesus Christus was born from the Virgin Mary, from that time He lived an exemplary life, a life which men everywhere must emulate. This life and the faith which He has taught us assures us of salvation, assures us also of harmony and good life upon earth. Because the exemplary character of the life of Jesus Christus, it is necessary that all men do their maximum in their human efforts to see to it that they approximate as much as they can the good example set by Him. It is quite true that there is no perfection in humanity. From time to time we make mistakes, we do commit sins, but even as we do that, deep within our hearts as Christians, we know we have a chance of forgiveness from the Almighty. He taught us that all men are equal regardless of sex, their national origin, and tribe. He also taught us that all who seek Him shall find Him. To live in this healthy life, a Christian life, is what makes me follow Jesus Christus." So you see right there, His Majesty is very clear. Example, when you read the New Testament and you read about the parables, this lays out a levity. What Yeshua was talking about in the New Testament was a levity. He was introducing this levity, which was not new, which is why you see in Hebrews they talk about him being after the order of Melchizedek. It was an ancient order, but the people had strayed us under Roman conquest. These were the last of the African Hebrew Israelites that were residing in Jerusalem, and they had strayed, you know. They had been conquered, they had been reduced, you know. By this time Israel is very multicultural, because everybody, you know, as a conquered people, you cannot control the conquest. When a people is conquered, their women are abused, their children are become servants. So that was a state in which Israel found itself, or the Israelites at that time, during the time of Yeshua, you know, at the turn of the first millennium. So he was introducing a levity to his people, and this is what His Majesty say: if we follow this levity, this is the path to salvation. So Yeshua is a door for you as a divine being in a human form to emulate, to walk through, in the same way that we in this time look at His Imperial Majesty. Now, I want to make it clear, majority of Rastafari, we don't see Haile Selassie as Jesus Christ reincarnated, or Yeshua reincarnated. Haile Selassie is Haile Selassie I. However, that Christ consciousness, when we talk about the Christ in his kingly character, the Christ means anointed one. So when we talk about that Christ consciousness, that enlightened being, the embodiment of the Almighty in flesh and bone, that is how many of I and I in Rastafari view His Majesty in this time, being that example, the Almighty sent, that recorded on modern technology that we can look and see, we can read His word. We don't have to get a second-hand testimony, which we have to do with Yeshua. 70 years after the fact is when the book of Mark was written, the first book. The oldest book of the Gospel of the New Testament is the book of Mark, which was 70 AD after the destruction of the temple. So these are all, you know, history of the church, and I also recommend all Rastafari Pan-Africans to research the history of the church before it became Romanized, or going through, because there are a lot of lessons there as well. So another question, Dr. Hoffman says, Your Imperial Majesty, what advice would you give a person who is considering the claims of Christ, perhaps for the first time? So this is for the doubters, or the people who don't really consider Christ. This is His Majesty, what he says. He says, I would tell a person who is considering the claim of Christ for the first time that it is necessary to have faith in the Almighty, that it is necessary to have love, and that it is necessary to conduct oneself in a manner that we have been taught to do in the Bible. I would also advise him to seek secular knowledge, for the more one knows, the more he realizes there's a need for a prime mover, the need for a creator who is good, and and the need for salvation and also peaceful life upon earth. I would also tell him to learn and to think for himself the ways he would serve the Lord. In this thought and in this understanding of his, he would inevitably find a way of serving his fellow man, for his faith would then be manifested by his conduct. If Christians behave in this way, if we dedicate ourselves to this fundamental task, then we will have a peaceful world and will be assured of not transgressing against the will and the commandments of the Almighty. So everything His Majesty is talking about again comes forward to the levity of Yeshua, the levity that he exemplified, which is why we follow him. So in following His Majesty, even if you deny Yeshua, are in fact acknowledging the power, because His Majesty is embodying this. He's telling you himself, I am the defender of the faith, this faith. I am embodying what Yeshua represents on this earth. I am sitting on the highest throne, the highest Christian throne, the throne of King David and King Solomon, coming down through bloodline, and I am exemplifying, bringing the child full circle. So this is very important when we talk about this do Rastafari celebrate Christmas. When we do celebrate Ethiopian Christmas, this is what the reflection should be. Are we living in that Christ-like manner? Are we embodying the Christ tradition? The ironic thing about Christianity and Rastafari is that the Rastafari brethren, with his locks, with his trad, is a closer representation to what Yeshua would have looked like and what he would have treaded during that time. So really Rastafari is almost like the flowering of Yeshua trad all over the earth. A lot of ones may not see it that way, but this is the reality. When the elders were treading in Jamaica barefoot, treading up, feeding the poor and the needy, planting food, bringing it down, building up, they were living Christ in Jamaica, that tradition, which is why they won the people and ultimately won the love of the world through this tradition. So Rastafari become the embodiment of this trad. That doesn't mean that we are Christian, because I don't consider I myself a Christian, just as a Christian does not consider himself to be a Hebrew or a Jew, although he's following someone who was an Orthodox Jew. We consider ourselves Rastafari, which is a new manifestation. It's a new blooming of this overstanding of what the potential of humanity can be. I just want to touch one more part of this speech, and again, the speech is available online. I'll put a link in the description. I just want to touch one more part. Amplifies the sound about the Christ tradition. This was another question from Dr. Hoffman. He says, Your Imperial Majesty, as a member of the body of Christ, what do you expect of the church? Listen to this now. The church is not merely a building. The church is the faithful fulfillment of the Christian life and its requirements. Thus, as the name applies to the building, so is our heart the church in which God dwells. After our blameless Creator was sent to the world by His Father, then the hearts of all believers become the temple of the Almighty. The love of the Almighty cannot be fathomed by a series of questions and answers, and man's soul cannot experience deeper enrichment as a result. We believe that men at all times must be bound by His love and His grace. And then he follows up with this question. Your Imperial Majesty, as a member of the body of Christ, what do you feel you can contribute to the church? His Majesty says this: all men are endowed with natural responsibility. This responsibility is in turn distributed and delegated to all according to his gift, and it's expected of each one to fulfill his responsibility. This responsibility in turn is to the Almighty, and thus, for example, one would start his work by asking the Almighty to bless the beginning and thank the Almighty for a good ending as well. We believe that all people, in all of their responsibilities delegated to them, will begin and finish their work in the Almighty's name. I give you a brief answer. If we go into detail, we would have to spend a long time discussing. So again, what do I say on this channel with the Rastafari man standard? The first thing you must do is seek the Almighty and all His righteousness. First thing I say. But when you do that, then you have to figure out what is your purpose, how do you serve. The same thing where His Majesty I say right here. Once you, what's your role? Your role is to identify what your unique gift is and to employ that in service of the Almighty, in service of the greater good. This is how heaven is going to manifest on the earth. Heaven is not just the building of structures. Heaven is something that manifests within man, and then it will manifest outside of man. Just like hell is the manifestation of trauma. I've said that before on this channel. So we have to break these generational curses, generational cycles, go inside to embody that Christ. And this is really what Christmas, or the birth of Christ, Malcolm Ledet or Malcolm Gena. This is what the birth of Christ in Ethiopia, they say Malcolm Gena or Malcolm Ledet, Happy Earth Strong, for Yeshua or Jesus Christos. So this is what this holiday really should be about. His Majesty gave this interview to the Christians of the world, and I'll just I said I wouldn't read anymore, but I'll do the final seal, just to put a stamp on how Haile Selassie I feel about Christmas. Dr. Hoffman says, Your Imperial Majesty, as a figure of world importance and probably one of the best known men in the world today, I should ask you the question, what meaning can the birth of Christ have for the nations of the world today? And His Majesty answers, as I've said before, the birth of Christ is celebrated all over the world. When I say the whole world, it does not mean that all people would observe it in the same manner. In all places that I have visited, including the Muslims and the Buddhists, we have seen observance. But for Christians, it is an act conducted with love. And then Dr. Hoffman seals up by saying, Your Imperial Majesty, you have done us a great honor, and also all the people who will listen to this broadcast, by giving us the opportunity to speak with you this day. And all who are listening should know that this conversation was held in the Imperial Palace at Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, with His Imperial Majesty, the Emperor of Ethiopia, Haile Selassie I. And we thank you and wish you God's blessing in all the days to come. His Imperial Majesty says, thank you, or Masaganalu. So, again, I don't think there's much ambiguity in terms of how we feel about Yeshua, the birth of Christ, and these things. So, again, as a Rastafari, to block sounds that are contrary to His Majesty teaching, I think is foolhardy. And again, I respect every man right to block out them feel. Some man burn it out the ashes, and that man is, you know, is clear. But that is not Rastafari, because it's against his teaching. So you might not like it. It might be a little controversial, to be honest, with a lot of my brethren. My close brethren I talk to, not far people from me. But I man always stand for that. And once, by this time, most ones know I man stands. And you cannot be a follower when it comes down to this trad, unless you're following the teaching of Kadamawi Haile Selassie I. And this is why it's so important. And we'll do another episode closer to Ethiopian Christmas. So I'll look at the comments, see what the sounds are, and we'll do a follow-up to this Ethiopian Christmas, which will be closer to January 7th. So you want bun me out in the comments, make we talk. You think Christianity are foolishness, drop a comment, make we have a reasoning on the topic. Because right now we have to sort out this thing, because again, this channel is about the building of Zion on earth, the manifestation. This is the solution channel. This is the teachings of His Majesty. This is where the lions are telling their story. So again, we give thanks. Make sure you like, you subscribe. Give thanks for all of those who have been sharing, who have been spreading the word, who have been commenting, sending messages. Every comment make I man heart feel joy. So just drop a comment, don't be shy. We want to increase the sister in them viewership right now. A whole heap of man there. But again, we're building, cultivating the Rastafari man to lead the Rastafari future. That is, one of the central aim of this channel, so no worries, but we still have it of the sister and them. Again, we're planning a relationship episode. You can drop your questions, and I wanted to make this clear that you can remain completely anonymous, so feel free to send in your relationship question. If you want to be anonymous, you don't want to say who it is, just drop me a note to say please keep me anonymous. We're gonna have a show where we go through, we talk, I'm gonna give my opinion. I'm gonna see if I can get a sister to come on at some point to also reason, so we can get a sister perspective. I'm probably on that show, when I read the messages, I'll probably have a co-host, a sister, so we can go through and reason on the relationship topic, so we have a balance from both sides. So it's gonna be full. So make sure, send in your question, ask the Lion Voice. Rastafari, we don't talk about relationship, but our relationships as a whole, our family structure is not doing so well right now. I'm afraid to talk, so this is why people afraid to tackle it. I'm gonna tackle it. I'm a family man, so I'm gonna tackle it, because I want to see more of my brethren and sister in China, man, living this sweet family life. Family man, I run things right now, I tell the idea. That being said, we give thanks. The time has come for the lions to tell their own story. And remember, this is the Lion's Voice.
Lion Voice. Well, for unto us a son was born and a child was given, and the government shall be upon his shoulders, and his name shall be called the Wonderful Counselor, Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. Them call him Rastafari. When he was born, rain fall from the sky. Them call him Rastafari. When he was grown, in airplanes he fly. They call him Rastafari. The lion break the chain, weep not, don't cry. Them call him Rastafari. Read the Revelation chapter 5 verse 5. Then, born near the city of Harar, the inspiration for Bob Marley's guitar. People crowd him like some big superstar. It no matter if England or Cote d'Ivoire, no matter if you're brown or black like Qatar. Haile Selassie I fi end all tribal war. Time fi gather Mount Zion, fi drive solar car from the car straight to Zanzibar. Who we are, the sons of Rastafari. When he was born, rain fall from the sky. Rastafari. When he was grown, in airplanes he fly. Then Rastafari. The lion break the chain, weep not, don't cry. Then Rastafari. Read the Revelation chapter 5 verse 5. Royal governor from the age of 13 years, leave the palace, fi go back in a school with him peers. He's the head without fear, he's one to be revered. When them call his name, then the heathen scare. Plus the priest concerned, and him teachers concerned, cause all this little youth want fi do is just learn. But he wait his turn, till him turn the Dejazmatch. The people rejoice when him crown as the Rasta call him Rastafari. When he was born, rain fall from the sky. Then